Kandu rammed Corky. She broke her jaw and she severed an artery, and she proceeded to bleed to death in about 45 minutes right in front of all of these people.
The tale of Kandu was far from the happy image sold to the public. Fans cheered for her spectacular tricks, not knowing the misery she faced behind the scenes. Her distress came to a head in a chilling incident that unfolded in front of a live audience. It was a tragedy where Kandu viciously attacked her fellow orca counterpart and suffered fatal injuries, opened the world's eyes to the dark side of animal performances in captivity, and eventually led to the eventual ban of such shows. This is the tale of Kandu, the beloved orca whose life was tragically cut short in a feat for human entertainment. Kandu was captured in the late 1970s in Iceland, a place well known for its rich marine life and breathtaking landscapes, standing as a prime location for orca sightings in its abundance of salmon. It all began during a time when there was a growing interest in orcas, so marine parks were increasingly seeking to acquire these amazing animals for public display. Kandu was captured on October 10, 1977, at approximately 3 years of age. Like many other orcas of her time, Kandu's capture involved a controversial and harrowing process. Orcas are highly intelligent and social creatures, and capturing them is no easy task. A team of experts first had to locate a suitable orca pod. Pods are tight-knit family groups, and separating a young orca from its pod was the first step. These pods were usually identified by air surveillance. Once the pod was located, boats were sent out to surround the orcas in a process known as a roundup. The boats gradually led the pod into a smaller area where the separation began. Orcas like Kandu are taken while still young, and the process of separating them from their mothers is very traumatic for the calf. After forcing the orcas into a small area, the boats placed nets in the targeted areas of the water. The nets were positioned in such a way that the young orcas would be separated from the rest of their pod. Once the young orca was separated, it was gently put into a net that was lowered into the water. This container was then lifted onto a boat, and the orca was transported to a new destination. The name Kandu carries a special significance, and it reflects the cultural importance of orcas in indigenous communities. It was chosen by her captors as a way of acknowledging the indigenous communities of the Salish region. For the Salish people and other indigenous groups in the area, orcas hold a prominent place in their culture and mythology. Before Kandu ended up at SeaWorld, she was bumped around to a few other marine parks. Kandu was initially transported to Marine World Africa, USA, located in Vallejo, California. At this park, she was trained and showcased as a performing orca. This was a popular marine park at the time before relocating to Vallejo, California. After spending some time at Marine World, Kandu was transferred to Six Flags over Georgia, where she continued to perform and entertain park visitors. She also had a brief stay at the Ontario Place Marina in Toronto, Canada. This wasn't only characteristical for Kandu. During this era, orcas were frequently moved between marine parks, performing at different locations across North America. These moves were a part of a business arrangement among the parks. Kandu's journey eventually led her to SeaWorld, one of the most well-known marine life entertainment parks in the world. She arrived at SeaWorld San Diego in California in the 70s, where she spent a significant part of her life as one of the park's star attractions. At SeaWorld, Kandu became a beloved figure for many visitors. She was known for her remarkable performances and the strong bond she formed with her trainers. Kandu was a young and energetic orca, which made her an ideal candidate for the park's shows and entertainment. From the moment she arrived, her energy made her a beloved figure at the park. This orca was known for forming close relationships with her trainers. The bonds young orcas form with trainers are essential for their training and safety during performances. These trainers spent countless hours with them, bonding and teaching various tricks and commands. These close interactions help to create trust and mutual understanding between orcas and their human companions. Kandu adapted easily and liked her trainers, so learning tricks and performing was a piece of cake. She was a star that wowed audiences with her agility, speed, and intelligence. Her performances often consisted of impressive jumps, flips, and synchronized movements with other orcas. In addition to her entertainment, Kandu also played a role in educating the public about orcas and marine life. Her shows were designed to teach people about the beauty and complexity of these creatures and help raise awareness about the importance of ocean conservation and the need to protect marine ecosystems. Kandu's life at SeaWorld was marked by several significant events, one of which was the birth of her first calf. This event brought both joy and challenges to her life in captivity. In 1986, Kandu gave birth to her first calf after she became pregnant with a male named Winston. Sadly, the calf was stillborn on January 31, 1986. The loss of her first calf was a heart-wrenching experience for Kandu and the SeaWorld staff who had been eagerly anticipating his arrival. But she continued to work and was introduced a year later to a male and female orca, Orca 2 and Corky 2, who were moved to San Diego. She soon became pregnant for the second time, and her daughter was named Orchid, after her father who had passed away just after her birth. Ultimately, it was just Kandu, Orchid, and Corky left at the park, and this is when the problems began. Kandu started behaving dominantly the moment she met Corky, and started having even more problems after Corky became close to Orchid. She even snapped at the trainers multiple times during training and performances, but was still put out as an attraction. This is not a typical behavior for orcas, as they all become close in the pods, but Kandu didn't know that, and she was very protective of her daughter, but still, they were kept together in the same tank. On August 21, 1989, a tragic incident unfolded at SeaWorld San Diego, leaving a lasting impact on both the park and those who witnessed the events, and many people did witness it. On that day, Kandu was participating in a Shamu show, one of SeaWorld's signature killer whale performances. She was performing alongside Corky. The audience was watching as they showed their abilities in the water. During the performance, Kandu was in one of the side pools, while Corky was the main attraction in the central show pool. Kandu was already outraged before that, and very protective of her baby. As the show progressed, Kandu became increasingly agitated, especially when Corky approached Orchid. In response, Kandu tried to assert her dominance over Corky through a behavior known as racking. Racking is a common practice among captive orcas and is a way of showing dominance by forcefully scratching at one another with their teeth. But Corky was a larger and older orca. Kandu weighed 4,600 pounds at that point, while Corky was around 7,000 pounds. Kandu lunged and tragically missed her target and hit a wall, resulting in a catastrophic injury. The impact fractured Kandu's upper jaw and severed an artery. This led to massive bleeding, including the spouting of blood from Kandu's blowhole. SeaWorld staff quickly realized the severity of the situation and asked the spectators to leave the stadium. Kandu was immediately moved to a back pool, where she was accompanied by Orchid. Despite the quick response from SeaWorld staff, Kandu's injuries were too severe to save her. They led to a massive hemorrhage, and Kandu's life was slipping away. Throughout the process, she remained by Orchid's side, unwilling to leave even in her final moments. Approximately 45 minutes after the incident, Kandu succumbed to her injuries and the loss of blood. Her passing marked a dark day in SeaWorld's history and became one of the most highly publicized incidents involving a captive killer whale. It was later revealed that this wasn't an isolated incident. Since Orca was born, Kandu had several aggressive outbursts. These included snapping at her trainer's neck and attempting to drown another one during shows. On March 4, 1987, Kandu was filmed slamming into a trainer. She repeatedly dragged him to the bottom of the pool. For years, marine parks have argued that they provide a valuable platform for education and conservation as a form of hiding ethical issues. SeaWorld didn't ban orca performances until 2010 despite public pressure. It took 23 years and multiple accidents to finally make a change in their approach towards these animals. They have since maintained that their orcas receive world-class care because of a team of hundreds of veterinarians and care specialists. But keeping orcas in the small enclosure marine parks compared to the ocean is not the same. However big the pool may be, they are limited. Orcas roam over 100 miles each day in the wild. Was Kandu's death due to human error? Would the tragedy be avoided if the two adults were kept in separate enclosures? Maybe another case of an orca's tragic death could give these answers. Shown on screen.